Hello and welcome to another episode of the SJSU Online Spotlight Series, where you'll learn about valuable, affordable, and flexible opportunities to complete your bachelor's degree 100% online. Today, we're joined by SJSU faculty Dr. Roberto Gonzalez, who's going to discuss the benefits of our new online science, technology, and society program. So really excited to talk about this with you today, especially just considering the kind of the time and place that we're in now. Before we get into today's topic, can you introduce yourself to our viewers by sharing a few of the significant moments that led you to where you are in your current role at SJSU?
Sure. Thanks, Brian, for the introduction. I am a cultural anthropologist by training, but I started out my college career as an engineering major. I majored for 4 years in mechanical engineering at the University of Texas, and as a senior decided that I wanted a change. And so in the course of taking my general ed courses there, I discovered anthropology, which I didn't know was a field until that time. So I changed my major, got my degree in anthropology, but always held on to that interest in technology and engineering, and have had a career where I've been able to combine those two very different fields in my research projects. I got my first real academic job at San Jose State in 2001, and I've been here ever since. I served as department chair. I was elected by my colleagues in 2015 and served as chair for 8 years. And during that time, I got to meet a lot of students and a lot of former students that had left our university for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes they lost their jobs, or they had to move because a spouse got a job in another part of the state. Sometimes they had to stop their educations because they had to take care of family members or had children. And so what I learned during those 8 years as department chair was that there was a lot of need for a program like SJSU Online. So when the leaders of this university in 2003 launched SJSU Online for the first time, I wanted to be first in line. And so the anthropology department began as one of the initial 5 programs as part of SJSU Online. And what we've done over the past year is develop a new program that will be housed in our department that is an interdisciplinary studies program with a concentration in science, technology, and society, or STS. And I can talk more about what STS is in a moment. But that kind of gets me where I am now. I'm no longer department chair, but I am the coordinator for my department, both for the anthropology program and for this new program, interdisciplinary studies with an STS concentration, that we're very excited about.
Wow. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to share your backstory with me. I think it was just really interesting just to hear from your personal experience. You know, you never know where life is going to take you. You may start out moving in one direction, academically, professionally, whatnot, but then life happens. Other interests may pop up and kind of take you in another direction. But like you said, you've been able to kind of fuse all that knowledge and all that experience that you have of both thinking about like the physical sciences and the social sciences and bringing those things together to really synthesize them and think about how to apply them in kind of the world at large. And I really like how you also then connected that to really thinking about your experience as department chair and thinking about what the actual experiences of our students are and why there's a need for programs like SJSU Online, and then thinking about the need for this program in particular, the STS program that you all are launching here coming up soon. So I know generally the program is designed to provide students with a deep understanding of how like technology, culture, and human values all shape one another. But can you provide a little bit more of an overview of the program for our potential students and talk a little bit more about why this is valuable for them?
Sure. Well, as you said, the field of science, technology, and society is, I think, a really important one because it forces us to really think about how technologies get designed, what the cultural process is behind the design of new innovative technologies like cell phones or like apps or drones. There's all kinds of technologies that we don't often reflect on how these things got invented, who invented them, what were the motivations for the invention, and then importantly, how are they actually being used in the real world, these new tools and technologies. And we find sometimes that technologies that were designed for one thing or with one thing in mind wind up being adapted for all different kinds of purposes and uses. And sometimes a technology that was developed with the best of intentions can be used in a way that's very unethical or illegal. or morally problematic in some way. And so I think this is where the field of science, technology, and society becomes really important. It helps us think through the process of designing new technologies and tools. It walks us through the process of thinking about what the consequences of unleashing new technologies on the world might be, and also to think and implement responsible kinds of regulations or laws for making sure that the technologies are used in socially beneficial ways. So I think these values or these skills are skills that many kinds of organizations right now want in their companies, in their governments, in their organizations, because there's not a lot of people that are trained to think about these things, that are trained to make the connections between technology, culture, society, and values. And that's really what we aim to do with our program.
That's awesome. Those are all really good points. Like you said, just thinking about from a technology standpoint, initially the why and the how of it, because oftentimes there's like maybe consumers or people in the world were just kind of presented with maybe a new technology or something like that without really getting a deep understanding of why it was initially created, how it works, or who it was intended for. And then, like you said, then after it's kind of put out there into the world, then there's the why and the how of how it's actually used or implemented or maybe repurposed, for other use cases and things like that. So those are all really important points to consider. And like you said, then there's the other dimension of just thinking about the ethical and the social responsibility side of things, and just making sure that all these things are being used hopefully for the social good. I think that's ultimately what we'd want them to be used for. Can you dive in a little bit further into the program and maybe talk about a few of the skills and outcomes that students will develop as they go through the program, and maybe some examples of different career paths that this program could prepare them for?
Yeah. Well, first of all, like all of the SJSU online degree programs, ours is a degree completion program, which means that students come to us having already taken 60 units or more of undergraduate coursework. So they're coming here really for their junior and senior years. The requirements for the degree are 39 units total, and then 21 additional units of university elective. The 39 units that are part of this interdisciplinary studies degree include 21 units or 7 courses that all interdisciplinary studies students take, and then an additional 18 units that are more focused on the concentration requirements. These are courses that are more narrowly focused on the field of science and technology studies. In terms of skills that we are going to help students develop in this program, one of the important skills is what we call interdisciplinary skills. In other words, how to bring knowledge and information across different disciplines. So for example, from a field like anthropology and a field like philosophy and a field like design, and maybe a different field having to do with history or environmental studies, how to bring these different disciplinary approaches, whether it's methods or theories, how to bring them all together to solve real world problems or real world challenges. That really is the benefit of all the interdisciplinary studies programs that we offer at our university and through SJSU Online. The second really important skill, and I think this is much more specific to science, technology, and society, is the skill that I described just a moment ago, the ability to have a deep understanding of technology, how it's developed, how technologies are designed, the processes that go into building technologies, but then also importantly, what is the social impact of these technologies? So that's really what we're aiming to do here. Also, I should mention that there is a requirement as part of the degree program in methods. And what we are most interested in science, technology, and society are qualitative methods. The ability to interview people at length about, for example, the way they use technologies, or to interview the designers of technologies to get perspectives on what assumptions are they making about the use of what they're developing and how might those assumptions be problematic. So whether it's design, whether it's thinking about regulation and laws, whether it's thinking about ethical issues, or whether it's thinking about application, how do we apply technologies in different kinds of of cases. These are the really important essential skills that we are teaching students in this program, that we will be teaching once we get this going in January.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot of just thought and intention put into the program, both in terms of the design of the program itself and kind of the balance and the flexibility that people have within it. But then, like you said, too, in terms of what is going to prepare students to be able to do, how they can synthesize information across different disciplines, think about how to be able to adapt to what's happening in society at large, to be able to solve complex problems that don't fall within a particular discipline. And it sounds like then with that, it prepares them for a lot of different avenues that they could go down in terms of possible career paths, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and let me talk a little bit about those career paths. I
Oh,
want
sure.
to be
Go for it.
very
Yeah.
specific here. I left that part out, but just a few, for example, job titles that one might expect to be applying for with an interdisciplinary studies degree with an STS concentration. These would include things like a product designer or product design consultant, responsible AI product manager, sustainability coordinator, biotech ethics consultant, a trust and safety specialist, technology compliance officer. These are some of the job titles that you might find that STS majors applying for. And so that we very much expect students that graduate from our program to be successful in these and many other kinds of careers.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you took a moment to highlight some of those different job titles that students can pursue or kind of look forward to. Because I know just for SJSU Online students specifically, thinking about what comes next after they complete their degree online is really a big priority for them. And I like that you highlighted those too, because while on one hand, some of them may fall into kind of the technology sector, I think just with those examples that you highlighted there, they can really span across a lot of different sectors. So it's just nice to know that there is a lot of adaptability and versatility in this program and where it might lead students depending on their interest areas or what kind of the needs are or the opportunities are in their area. I was wondering if you can share maybe if there's any types of experiential learning opportunities that students might have in their courses, or maybe other things that they can participate in as part of your department or college, knowing that this is a 100% online program.
Very much so. Yeah, I'll just highlight two. I'm sure there are going to be many more opportunities, but the two that immediately come to mind are, first of all, our methods courses. Students will have the option of taking one of two different methods options. One of these is called Anthropology 149 Ethnographic Methods, and the other is called Design 101, and I believe the title is Design in Society. And so both of these methods courses are really focused on qualitative methods, again, with interviewing and observing at the center of those. So one example of an experiential learning assignment or experience that students could expect in either of these classes is the process of observing and interviewing people that use a particular kind of technology. So let's take, just as an example, a cell phone. Interviewing people about the ways in which they use cell phones, asking people if there could be something different about cell phones, what would you imagine or like it to be? These kinds of in-depth interviews where you're not just asking survey questions, but really trying to get a deeper understanding of how a user is interacting with a product. This is a great example of what anthropologists and what design specialists do. They try to get a sense of how the user is experiencing the technology with the idea of improving it or making it better in the future. And so that's just one example of the kinds of assignments that are going to be built into a number of our courses. The other course that I think is very much geared in a similar fashion is our capstone course. The number is Social Science 191, SSCI 191 is the catalog number. It's a brand new course. And here again, it's very project focused. So what we're looking at doing here is having students do a project around a particular technology that will involve using qualitative methodology and theories from a number of different disciplines to try to improve upon or develop an entirely new kind of hypothetical product. Now, because these are asynchronous online classes, We won't actually be able to do this, in an in-person laboratory, for example. But there are ways using our learning management system, Canvas, of replicating this sort of an experience for students. And there are all kinds of exciting virtual spaces where we've had great success in our anthropology program that we intend to borrow from and draw from that knowledge and apply them to this new interdisciplinary degree program with an STS concentration.
That sounds really cool. It's awesome to hear that although it is a 100% online program, like you said, there are ways to adapt and utilize different tools and technologies to be able to replicate a lot of those types of experiential learning opportunities in an online space or in a virtual space. And then, like you said, too, just being able to develop those different types of skills, thinking about the methods and the project-based learning that students will have throughout the program that they'll immediately be able to carry forward with them and transfer into whatever avenue they go down professionally, or even if they pursue, their graduate studies or whatnot. So, I just want to thank you, Roberto, for taking the time to share a little bit about your new program that we have coming up. We're really excited to launch it and for our students to begin applying. Thank you to our viewers, as always, for watching. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our SJSU Online website to get in contact with our enrollment counseling team, and we'll catch you in the next